Go to whirlwindgolf.com, click on Whirlwind Plus. You can save up to 60% on greens fees, 15% at the restaurant Civlic and the Pro Shop, and be entered to win all kinds of prizes throughout the year and enjoy great contests. Go to whirlwindgolf.com and feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Forming offense.
Forming offense.
4 minutes.
Forming offense. Forming offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in Tucson, Arizona. UofA winner over NAU, 84-49. Dwayne Aristode led all scorers with 18 points, which is a little bit of a shocker because for the first game and a half of the season, he didn't even take a shot. Head coach Tommy Lloyd.
Just had to kind of find his way. I mean, all these guys have obviously had moments in our preparation, on our build this offseason to get ready, but unfortunately, you don't get instant results. And so you got to be able to hang with a little bit and get some experience under the lights. So I'm glad Dwayne had a little bit of a breakthrough, and I'm sure other guys are right on the precipice to follow.
Up next, UofA travels to Inglewood, California, home of the Clippers, to take on UCLA Friday night. D-backs on the hot stove. ESPN came out with a list of the best free agents in this class. Zach Gallen listed at number 13. Nick McCord of the Arizona Republic reporting that at some point during the winter meetings or shortly thereafter, Diamondbacks will move on from outfielders Alec Thomas or Jake McCarthy in pursuit of pitching. Very strange exchange in the Cardinals press conference with offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. ESPN reporter Josh Weinfuss asked why Keaton Slovis came into the game against Seattle.
Not to punt, but that's probably a better question for JG.
Up next, Cardinals host the 49ers in Glendale Sunday at 2. It was coordinator day for ASU and UofA. Sun Devil defensive coordinator Brian Ward, what do you see from West Virginia?
They're executing at a much better rate than they did early, and what they've done is they've made adjustments to wrinkles that teams have given them that have given them issues, and you can see that they're just getting back to basics and fundamentals. From the offensive line to the running backs to the quarterback to the receivers, they're starting to understand what they're trying to implement.
Mountaineers come to Tempe Saturday morning at 11. UofA, they've got UC on the road. But very kindly, Danny Gonzalez started off his meeting with the press talking about the vets.
My father went to Vietnam in '69, spent 9 months there. My father-in-law was stationed in Germany during Vietnam, and my brother-in-law served. What those guys give up for us to have the abilities to live everyday life that we do and complain about everything that we have, and just a ton of gratitude towards them.
Wildcats at Cincinnati Saturday morning at 10. Suns announced the tough news on Jalen Green. The Phoenix guard is diagnosed publicly with a right hamstring injury, and he won't be evaluated for another 4 weeks. Up next, Suns are in Dallas tonight at 6:30. Mavericks, meanwhile, are making national news just months after supporting Nico Harrison's decision to trade Luka Doncic. Well, they've now fired him. Other hoops news, the NBA announced the All-Star Game will now feature 2 teams of Americans and 1 team of international players. Last night scoring, the best performance was from Nikola Jokic. He had 35 points, 15 boards, 7 assists. Denver beat Sacramento 122-108. But that's not the story. The post-game press conference with Sacramento coach Doug Christie lasted 2.5 minutes. Here's a snippet.
When I see the hate, the haters, the fakers, all you guys, you keep that energy. That's good. You keep that. And you know who you are. Because while you doing that, we're going to be working. While you doing that, we're going to be growing. And while you do that, eventually, we're going to be coming. The King Show. Sac proud. Know that. Appreciate you.
And baseball handed out Manager of the Year awards, and it was the same people as last year. Former D-back Stephen Vogt got it in Cleveland for the American League, and former Devil Pat Murphy got it with the Brewers in the National League. And finally, meet Cade Nunn of Lebanon, Missouri. Cade owns a laundromat and decided it wasn't right that there was a boy bullying another boy at school. So after a Friday night football game, she invited him to the laundromat to fight the other kid. Yeah, she's the adult, and she thought these 2 boys were eventually going to fight, so it made a lot of sense to take care of it at the laundromat so she could make sure everything is fair. Wait, what? This woman is absolutely nuts. According to court documents, she texted the victim at a Friday night football game. and said, come to the self-service laundromat to talk about the beef that was between the two kids. According to a statement from the victim, when they got to the laundromat, they saw a large group of people that all had their phones out already, knowing that a fight was going to happen. Of course, showing that she really cares, documents say that she asked the victim if your parents know where you are to make sure they were okay with the arrangement. The victim answered without contacting his parents, saying they would not be okay with this. Now, this woman's so crazy that saying that she wanted to have it organized so it was done safely, she's actually heard in the video saying to kick their blank to one of the kids. Dear sweet old Cade was charged with first-degree endangering the welfare of a child and creating substantial risk. It's stories like this that make me wonder, why don't we just have a crime of stupidity? Why can't we just charge certain people with stupidity that automatically double the sentence?
Hey, Unplugged Army, this is General Mike. The thing I love about Belle's most is the staff. Every time I come here, they make sure I'm having a good time, and I always bring my daughter here, and she has dietary restrictions. They always find something with their fresh ingredients to make for her to hit the gluten-free, dairy-free menu items. So always enjoy it when I come here. Can't wait to come back.
Belle's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
Okay, you want to talk about having some energy right now. It is such a strange feeling. Slept about 45 minutes to an hour last night before the doctor's appointment and going to Belle's. Got home from Belle's at about 3, slept until 7, watched my Bobcats, then went back to bed. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. We also cover ASU, UofA, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? Other than going 0-2 in versus Vegas last night, I'm doing great. It is so strange. Seriously, about 45 minutes to an hour of sleep yesterday. Went to the doctor in the morning, then went to Belle's Nashville Kitchen for lunch, came home from Belle's, and went right to bed. I mean, right to bed. Slept from about 3:30 until about 6:30 or somewhere in there. Got up, watched the Ohio Bobcats blow first place and lose at Western Michigan. Then turned right around and went back to bed. Slept until about, 10, 11, probably more like midnight. Got up and then watched my Bobcats lose to St. Mary's in college hoop. Got blown out by St. Mary's. We were up 9-4, by the way, if you're wondering. And then just got blown out from there. That was a little source of frustration. But with that much sleep, I'm now unbelievably wired. So here we go. Hopefully you can hear the energy that's there. Thanks for listening to yesterday's show. I mean, I owe you a thank you. I know that the Tuesday shows are really, really long, and it's kind of crazy to think you've got a lot going on and you're listening to a 3-hour podcast, but hopefully you understand that's what it's designed for, you to find what you want to find and be able to listen to the sports topics that you want, because that's what drove me crazy at the old station. Is we were under a mandate, talk about Kyler all the time. And it was kind of like you had to go in and argue and have a good reason if you didn't want to talk Kyler. And then I was considered somebody that wasn't getting the message. I wasn't towing the line because I would argue with my producer over, I'm tired of talking about Kyler. And I thought, hey, you've got 4 segments an hour. Let's do 2 Kyler, 1 D-back, 1 Suns. And I was considered the Antichrist for that. So that's what this podcast is about, is I'll talk about everything and you pick and choose what you want. Use the show like a smorgasbord. And today's show, a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, not as much of things going on. And I don't try to make up stuff, and fill time. It's like, here, you get what I think that you need to be an informed sports fan. Belle's yesterday, or the doctor first. Doctor was really good. Tells me I don't have a heart problem. I admit, I've been thinking there's something going on in there. And he goes, no, we've evaluated this. We've evaluated that. You just got to keep handling your reflux better. And then told me something horrific. He'd like me to mix in a vegetarian option once or twice a week. Now, I love salad. I love having a salad. And ham belongs on the salad. Absolutely. I will sacrifice and go vegetarian by using turkey. That's a sacrifice. To go from ham to turkey in honor of my heart, I will do that. Vegetarian, though, like full on purpose. Listen, there are rules. This is one of those, crazy moments in life where you love your wife, you love your children, and you need to do what's best for them. But there are some compromises that just can't be made. And I will do anything to stay on earth longer for the benefit of my children and my wife. As long as you don't touch meat and beer. What else do I need to do? I need to mix in some sit-ups? Great. Get out on my bike more often? Great. Live the life that I want to live after we've lost Dr. Fred and get in better shape? Yes. But there's things in life that you just gotta have. There's meat and there's beer. That was that conversation. We'll see how that goes. The catch is I'm completely dependent on my wife, and whatever she makes, I eat. So this is where the fear is. What if I notice she's giving me something that doesn't have meat? Am I now this horrible husband when I run downstairs and add 3 pieces of turkey to my salad or whatever it is whatever vegetarian meal she tried to slip in? Now, maybe I can get lucky and I can include seafood. I'm sure that they don't mean fried fish, although I'm a big fan. But like a shrimp pasta, stuff like that, I'm okay with that. I don't consider that necessarily vegetarian. I'm okay with that. I got to have animals. I'm a red-blooded American. I got to eat animals. There you go. Now, how can we come together on that, Doc? If we can come together, and then I'm okay. By the way, it didn't start yesterday. I had my iceberg wedge Nashville hot chicken. 2 big strips of the Nashville hot chicken, iceberg, like unbelievably fresh wedge of iceberg lettuce, blue cheese. This is fantastic. Fantastic. How did you think of the new commercial with General Mike? I got a lot more. Some of them are like the 30-second jobs like General Mike's, and other ones are where somebody just gave a sentence and I'll be splicing them together. But it was a lot of fun yesterday. General Mike was there. General Tom was there. The Guru Rich, Guru Brad, and Guru Rich's son Arden was there. General Kyle was there. Discord Brian was. I haven't seen Discord Brian in a while. That was really nice of Discord Brian to stop by. And it's time to have the conversation. Lately, there's been a lot more attendance of at Gene Lilly 14. I think the time has come where it is General Gene. Because, Gene, you've been coming to a lot of events lately, and that's what matters. So, General Gene, congratulations on your promotion to becoming a 1-star general of the Unplugged Army, as bestowed upon you from your commander-in-chief. And then, of course, the First Lady was there, which was very nice. She had the day off from her job, so she was there with me. And that was really nice to spend time with her. Now I'm scared to death I forgot somebody since I listed everybody. But I would say about 10, 12 people. You know me. I would always have liked to have had 20 or 30. But that's a good number. Unsanctioned event. stop by and just chat for a little bit and have lunch. It was a good number. I was happy. So thanks everybody for coming. All right, are you ready? Time for Doug's Big One. It's my number one opinion of the day. Let's roll.
Doug.
Doug, where's Doug?
Here, sorry,
Doug. Where are you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug right there? That was smooth.
Well, I can only answer the questions that get asked of me, Doug.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's Big One. Today's Doug's Big One is my number one opinion is how bad I hate it when people are gutless. And that's it. There's today's Doug's Big One. Now, let me give you the examples of where that's coming from. 2 in the NBA, 1 in college football. I always want Doug's Big One to be local, I admit, but these are all 3 national issues. Number 1, the NBA has announced how the All-Star game is going to go. Adam Silver completely gutless. This is how a hardened commissioner would have handled this. 5 years ago, you go to the players and you say the All-Star game is becoming a joke because you guys aren't playing hard. I understand that you don't want to get hurt. I realize it's not like another game. But it doesn't change the fact this isn't a product worthy of television. We've got to get this changed. So, here's what I propose. I would like to see it become world versus U.S., which means there's obviously fewer international players in the NBA than there are Americans. The way it'll work is there will be 24 spots, 12 American, 12 world. That's it. If you don't like that arrangement and you want to keep it how it is, where we're going 12 and 12 and having 24 NBA players, let's do that. But if you guys don't start playing hard, we're going to go 12 Americans versus 12 world. And then if I still can't get you to play hard, we're going to go 10 and 10. And we're just going to start losing all-stars. Because these guys have all of these all-star incentives in their contracts. And a lot of them care about legacy. Ever since the 75th anniversary team, so many NBA players listen to the introductions of the famous players of the past. And as they heard those introductions, they realized, well, wait a minute. I might only have 2 all-star appearances. I might believe I should have had 4. I got robbed from 1. And now I'm hearing about this guy having all of these. This is my legacy. So if you start losing spots on the all-star team, guys lose out on chances to build their legacy. That's what they care about, so that's what we're going to attack. Instead, this is what they've done. They're going to have 3 teams of 8 players. 16 of them will be Americans. 8 of them will be from the world team. However, if the voting comes back and it's not a perfect 16 and 8, then the commissioner will just name new all-stars to fill it. So let's say there's only 6 players on the world team. That's okay. He's going to add 2 more world players. And instead of having 2 teams of 8 Americans, they might be 2 teams of 9 because 2 world guys didn't get voted on. So he's just going to add more all-stars. And then quarter number 1 is going to be Team A versus Team B. Quarter number 2 is going to be Team B versus Team C. Quarter number 3 is going to be Team A versus Team C. And then whoever has done the 2 teams that have done the best are going to meet in the 4th quarter to win the All-Star game. Boring. Ridiculous. Now, NBC is supposedly happy. They have their first All-Star game, and this game's going to come out. I don't remember whether it's going to come out of a U.S. hockey game or into a U.S. hockey game. I think out of. But U.S. hockey will be playing. I think the Olympics are in Italy this year. So they're going to be playing in the Winter Games. And so this is a great way for NBC to just stack the deck of live, international feeling events because they'll have that. So that's number one. The commissioner not having the courage to stand up to the players and say, this is how it's going to be, and instead comes up with another cheeseball idea that they're not going to care about, and you're actually adding all-star spots. Number two, I think Brian Kelly is one of the laziest coaches in college football. I totally believe he tuned out while he was at Notre Dame, went to LSU to gravy train. And when I say lazy, I mean more along the lines of I'm a CEO. There's a line between delegating and being lazy. And I think he just delegates everything and then blames everybody. Hey, I said I wanted it done like this, but he doesn't get his hands dirty. I am not a fan of Brian Kelly at all. Having said that, what LSU is doing is just a joke. It is so gutless to me. You wanted to drag him through the mud and fire him because he lost games you didn't want him to lose. Now, because he won't accept a buyout, you are all upset, bent out of shape, and you want to fire him with cause, meaning they don't owe him as much. Now, either the man cheated, and if he cheated, fine. I don't feel bad about him getting caught. But I do think it's ridiculous if you knew about it, didn't do anything about it when you wanted him as your head coach, and now suddenly you're going to act high and mighty so you don't have to pay him. I can't wait to see how this court case goes because the LSU brass did so many stupid things. Like the governor came out and said one of the reasons why he's upset at the athletic director is because we now owe Brian Kelly $54 million. Well, if he did something with cause, why do you owe him $54 million? You've already said you owe him the money. Brian Kelly has no reason to give up any of that money unless he wants the big lump sum and he can double dip. Because the way his contract works is if he gets another coaching job, some of that money that he's owed comes off. So he's still going to get paid his yearly salary on a regular basis. Now, they don't owe it all to him in one lump sum. They owe it to him over the same time frame they would have had to pay him. But if he gets a job somewhere else, I don't remember how much the discount is, but they don't owe him as much. So the only reason why he would want to negotiate down the $54 million that he's owed is if he's going to be taking another job and he can, double dip. Maybe instead of you paying me $54 million, if you pay me a lump sum of 30, then I will accept that. Then you turn around and sign a 6-year, $5 million deal. Well, now you do something like that, you've got $30 million a year coming in. 6 year, I kind of did that math wrong. But now you've got enough money to overcome what you've lost from LSU, and you've got more than you would have got from LSU, and you got it up front in a lump sum. That's the only way you would do this, and I don't even think that works out. You're kind of an old dude. Time to move on. But what LSU is doing is just plain wrong. You fired him. Have the courage to stand up and say, hey, we fired you. We got to pay you. That's another gutless thing. And number 3, the Dallas Mavericks fired Nico Harrison. And I just want to say how gutless I think that is. The ownership, they signed off on the Luka Doncic trade. You agreed to it. And now, only a few months away from the trade, only 1 month into your first season without Luka, you fire the general manager. Well, then why did you accept the trade? That's on you. You had to know it was going to be hard for the first year or two. But suddenly, because fans are chanting, fire Nico, you can't handle it. So you fire the general manager that you've hung out to dry. The old rule, if you allow the fans to make the decisions, you're going to be sitting with them. Now, I realize it's ownership that I'm complaining about and not Nico. Do I think that was a smart trade? No, I don't. I actually liked the thought process of he's becoming a diva, he's out of shape, he doesn't even try on defense, we can't build around him anymore. That's not the part that bothers me. The part that bothered me was, so you turn and trade him for Anthony Davis. I mean, if there's ever a guy in the NBA that's soft and hurt all the time, it's Anthony Davis. So you traded for a less talented basketball player with some of the same issues. Not all the same issues. Anthony Davis does work harder defensively and on his body than Luka did at the time. And now Luka's got the wake-up call, is in fantastic shape, and is going to be great for the Lakers. So I didn't like the trade. I had no problem with the premise of why. I didn't like who they traded him for. But then you stood by it, said it was okay, and now you fired the general manager because you don't like the fact that fans are chanting, fire Nico, fire Nico. But it is out of control. It also brings up another point. That's Doug's big one. So Doug's big one's over. But it brings up an interesting point about fan bases. The Dallas Mavericks fan base forced this to happen. I think the fire Nico chants when their own players were shooting free throws did in Nico Harrison. I believe the owners felt like we've got to move on from this. We've got to take this weapon away from the fans. We owe it to our own players that they're not feeling like they're on the road when they're at home. We need to do this. We need to fire Nico, make him fall on the sword because the fans must be served. They must have their blood. No matter what you think about it, whether you agree with me or not, that firing Nico was gutless, it is a shocking revelation that the fans completely controlled that narrative. Completely controlled it. And they got a man fired. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because here in Phoenix, I don't think the fan bases are as passionate in order to get that done. I mean, Steve Nash was traded. Now, he was old. Maybe the fans were smart. Well, he's old, so I don't really care. But the Goldie trade, I'm glad Mike Hazen is the general manager, but I do think he botched that trade, and I'll always say that. I had no problem with them trading Paul Goldschmidt. I thought that trade itself was terrible. Once you've decided you're going to move on from a franchise icon who can still play, granted, give the Diamondbacks some room. He was not hitting that well for the last year and a half before the trade. But I didn't think they got enough in return, so I would have said no. We're willing to trade him, but we're not willing to give him away. That should have been the moniker. And they didn't follow that moniker, and they did not get proper return. Now, Mike Hazen's still the general manager. Is it because the Diamondbacks fan base is smarter than the Mavericks fan base? Says, you know what? I think this is a bad trade, but we're not going to fire Mike Hazen over it because you see other good things? Or is it the flip side that Diamondbacks fans are not as passionate as Mavericks fans? Or are Diamondbacks fans just that much smarter in the sense of maybe you do want Mike Hazen fired, but you don't want to interrupt the players on the field doing their job because you appreciate them. It's not the Diamondbacks players' fault. And Mavericks fans could care less about the Mavericks players because they were chanting Fire Nico while their guys are sitting at the free throw line. Where's the line between what makes you a great fan base or a clueless fan base? But make no mistake, that was done by a passionate fan base. It's one of the great sports talk radio markets where the sports talk radio get great ratings in Dallas. And it's just an interesting sidebar to this of the role of a fan base. I have always told you my goal, my dream is to create a monster. I don't live by it. Like I don't have to have it to consider my life complete. I don't even have it for my own ego. But the reason why I'm hoping I'm the one, I admit, is because nobody else is doing this. I would love to have this show be called Doug Franz Unplugged, but I have a downtown office with other talk show hosts, and we're all putting out podcasts under this label that are promoting fan interaction and the greatness of Phoenix fans to be able to create change with the owners. I don't think that's that far-fetched. It might not happen until I die, but, depending on the vegetarian diet. But I think that's a goal. And I know it can be achieved because of the way you've treated me. All of that's Doug's big one today. I'm interested to see what you think because there's a lot there. Got to schedule a lunch at Trophy with you if you're interested. The reason why is I need an oil change, and I have not. I could go sit at Santan Ford and just sit there and get the oil changed, but I kind of like using the mobile unit while I can still get lunch. Do something like that. So if you want to have a lunch date, and you know what, maybe I could get us a deal. Like if you need an oil change, maybe I could get us a deal on a Santan Ford day where we go to lunch at Trophy and like 4 or 5 of us have an appointment lined up back to back to back. Might be a little difficult. But maybe having multiple is a good way to go. You want to try to do something like that? I do. If you haven't used the mobile unit yourself, just go to santanford.com and you can do one of two things. You can just call the service department. They got the number right there at the top of the screen on santanford.com. Or you can use the built-in scheduler and just schedule your appointment with the mobile unit. But I need to get one, so I'll probably do it early December or maybe just get it done, I don't know, maybe Monday right after the Kenny Dillingham presser. That sounds like a plan too. Go to santanford.com. I am Santan Ford. Coordinator day in the state. Offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator of the Cardinals, ASU, and UofA all speaking to the media. I go through, listen to the whole thing, and then pull what I think you're going to find interesting, or what I can learn from, or what I can teach you about. Those are the criteria for me. Keep in mind, all of this is available for you on YouTube if you want to listen to the whole thing and not have it go through the filter of me and what I like. We'll start with Cardinals. And tell me if you found this as interesting as I did after hearing it in the 4-minute offense. First voice you're going to hear, it's a little muffled. Josh Weinfuss, ESPN beat reporter for the Arizona Cardinals, discussing what is going on with Jacoby Brissett and sitting down with about, 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when the offense was doing well. The next voice, the offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing.
You guys outscored them 22-9 after going down 35-0. What went into pulling Jacoby when the offense was rolling? Are you guys scoring points? Why pull him at that point?
Not to punt, but that's probably a better question for JG.
You outscored the Seahawks 22-9 after the terrible start, down 35-0. Why pull Jacoby Brissett right when the offense was really rolling and starting to make it interesting? Drew Petzing says not to punt, but that's a question that's better for JG. First of all, you are punting. So don't say not to punt, because that's what you just did. When something like I've been in the media a long time, so my antennae go up when I hear something like that. I'm willing to bet about 90% of the time what happens is the offensive coordinator didn't agree with the move. The offensive coordinator thought they should stick with Jacoby Brissett. And this is clearly a case then where Jonathan Gannon is kind of got Jaden Daniels disease, is saying, you know what? There's nothing more Jacoby Brissett can learn by being out there with 5 minutes left. And I'm not ready to lose Brissett on top of it. So I bet the offensive coordinator is saying, hey, we get one more touchdown. And suddenly, and we go for two, and we get it. Then we were down 35-0, but then went 30-9. I mean, it's there. It's kind of like, who knows? Look what happened, Bears-Bengals. You know, that's kind of what I think he's thinking, and I bet he didn't agree with going to Slovis. While the head coach is having a bigger picture and saying, okay, we cannot lose Jacoby Brissett to an injury when we're losing this bad. And we might as well see what we have in Slovis. Might as well give him some reps. He's the new backup quarterback. God forbid he's got to come in next week, but if he's got to come in for real next week, let's give him some snaps this week. I agree with Jonathan Gannon in making the switch, and I want to make sure that you hear me draw the line between a Jaden Daniels and a Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett has been in a Drew Petzing offense in Cleveland somewhat. Drew was the defensive coordinator. And he's been in this offense now for half a season. And Jacoby Brissett is a fast learner who's been in multiple systems. So being out there isn't the same as when I said Jaden Daniels is only in his second year and he needs all the reps he can get. So I'm not pulling him just because the team is losing when he can still learn by being out there. The risk of injury is there every second. So that's the cost of doing business. It's already there. Yes, I can mitigate it when I say the game is near over and get him out. But if that's the case, well, if it's a 2-possession lead and there's only 2 minutes left, why is he in there? What's a 2-possession? Well, we can still get a touchdown and then get the onside kick. And then, well, okay, but are you really, I mean, what are the chances of that happening? You really going to do that? Let's pull him out because I'm afraid. Right? You get ripped if you do that. But suddenly it's a big game, or it's a big deficit, I should say. And now he's got to come out. So I thought I'm not trying to build up something that's not there. But clearly there's a disagreement because the other options of why you would say that, I don't think make sense. Why else would the offensive coordinator say, you've got to ask Jonathan Gannon that question, why we made the switch? It's because he disagrees with it. That's got to be why. I bet he's upset because he feels like, hey, we quit. We were punting on the whole game, and Drew Petzing didn't like it. Speaking of Brissett and the fact that they've worked together, him and Drew Petzing for years, I like this question. What are the advantages because of this relationship that you have? You talk about your relationship with Jacoby Brissett. How does that translate strategically?
I think the communication piece is a big part of it. You know, even though we've been here only so long, there's conversations that we've had in the past or things that we've been through or things that we've repped that we can reference to say, hey, you remember that play we put in here? Like, I really like that. I think it fits this week. Oh, okay. Like, let's see if we can organize it, and the people we have, the right formation, the right protection, those type of things. I think it's a lot of those conversations that take place because of the relationship and the past that we're able to have a little bit quicker.
Here's why that is so interesting. So that's a situation where you're sitting in the meeting room, you're looking at a defense from the other team, and Jacoby's able to say, well, hey, what about this? And he might be referring to something that they ran in Cleveland, something that he ran somewhere else, but it's in a scheme that he knows is similar to Petzing's scheme, so he knows it will translate. When you know the nuts and bolts of what's under the hood, well, then you know what you can change under the hood or what you can add under the hood. That's a massive difference in having a Jacoby Brissett versus having a Kyler Murray, because Kyler is more, you just tell me the play to run and I run it. And he's not fully engaged as a deep thinking, high football IQ guy. He doesn't read defenses well. He doesn't translate to what he sees to great things of the past and schemes that he knows that will work, that fit into, or plays that he knows that will work, that fit into the scheme of the offense. That makes you a better organization. I mean, like there's so many times that we talk about Kyler in a negative light just because of game day. But it's so much more than that. When you have a Jacoby Brissett or a quarterback that can help be involved in the game planning, well, now it opens up it's just another brain that's attacking the other team. And he knows how to execute that play. That's a big deal right there. And again, it's also why I'm excited for the Cardinals to draft a quarterback in the first round of next year's draft, or maybe even the second round, but still have Jacoby Brissett here to teach them. And if you are going that route, there's no way you want Kyler Murray here. You don't want a young quarterback seeing the way Kyler Murray prepares or watching the way Kyler Murray pouts if he's not the starting quarterback. There is zero doubt in my mind Kyler Murray is done as a member of the Arizona Cardinals. All right, Petzing was asked about the offensive line play and just said, it's not as productive as it was in the past. This is as close as I've ever heard Drew Petzing blaming players. He always dances and says, well, we got to do this, I got to call better plays, da-da-da. And this one, when asked about how poor the O-line is doing,
they're playing hard. I think we've played some really good fronts. I think the communication has been good. I think at times, you're losing one-on-ones in critical situations, which is hurting us. And certainly we need to evaluate how and why that's happening and try to clean that up. But I think those guys play extremely hard. I think they play well together. I think they're doing everything they can to win games.
We've been losing some one-on-one battles in critical situations. I think that's a very, very striking comment. Now, it doesn't sound that big because A, he's right, B, it's obvious. But for me, it's because of the source that it's coming from. Drew Petzing does not say that. And he actually said it. And it's all true. No, I don't think Monty Ossenfort should be fired, but I also don't believe it's being pointed out enough. Sorry, I just got distracted that Mike, the antagonist, just texted in the middle of the show. But it's not being pointed out enough that the general manager passed on some really good offensive linemen in the draft and drafted Walter Nolan, who has done very, very little. You could say he helped out considerably in the Dallas victory, and you would be right. So one game a year, you can count on Walter Nolan. I'm not trying to hammer Walter Nolan in any way. It's just that you and I talked about this, not just on draft night, leading into the first round. Like if you go back to the week of shows of the draft, I don't remember whether it was the Wednesday show or the Thursday morning show, but you and I talked about, I like Walter Nolan in the third round, but I know he won't be there. I'll deal with it in the second round. I don't want him in the first round at number 16. It's too big of a risk. He takes plays off. He's not the guy. And wouldn't you know it? Now here we are. That was a big error. Not just the pick of Walter Nolan. It was a big error to go all defense all day and not really do what was necessary for this O-line. It was clear that, Monty Ossenfort messed up. And that's not being talked about enough. He's done enough good things that I don't think he should be fired, and it's about time that this organization finally shows some stability and allows people to learn when they do screw up. But there's a massive difference if we don't acknowledge the Monty Ossenfort screw up or it's covered up. It's got to be looked at and said, you failed by not fixing this offense as well, but it shouldn't be the death knell of your career as a Cardinals general manager. Learn from it, get better, move on. And boy, is Petzing right. They are losing one-on-one battles. And it's because the O-line just isn't good enough, personnel-wise. Nick Rollis, also the defensive coordinator, I thought he did a good job of holding people accountable. It's a little bit of a long answer. It's over a minute long. But he was asked about the first 3 drives, and that's why it was 35-0. Cardinals offense gave up 14 points, but Cardinals defense gave up 21. And I really appreciate how Nick Rollis handles this, because what I don't like is, like JG will say every time, give them credit. They had a good plan. And oh my gosh, Cliff Kingsbury every single time. Yeah, they had a good plan for us. Well, when does the time come that you outplan them? And it was always, give them credit, give them credit, give them credit. Listen, I understand you don't go out there and play solitaire, right? I understand that everything they did well, they get credit for. But I'm not covering them. I'm not rooting for them. I don't care about them. Your job is to outplan them. Your job is to out-scheme them. Your job is to beat them. We are covering the fact that you did not get the job done. That's all that we're talking about here. So fine, give them all the credit they want, but if you're going to give them all the credit, then I need to go hire them if I'm the team president, the team owner, or what have you. So here's Nick Rollis, and he basically says that on the first drive. Hey, give them credit. They did this, they did this, they did this. But then he stops after that point and has no problem being more focused on his team in the other 2 drives.
The first drive, they made some plays, and first off, credit to them. Clint had a great plan, and the players went out there and executed it really well. But that first drive, they made plays, A couple times we got them into a little bit second longer, and they converted a 3rd down, and then obviously they hit the big play. I thought after that, those next 2 drives, you never want to give up scores on your first 3 drives. There's some things that we could have done better just from a level of focus, alignment assignment, key technique to take advantage when we had them behind the sticks or, force them to play some 3rd downs. And it was kind of things that I felt like we could have been cleaner on, and we kind of, quote unquote, shot ourselves in the foot. So that goes into, okay, how can we correct that? Moments of adversity, number one, is things always feel worse than they are, and things will feel better than they are. So always stay level. And our guys did a good job of that, but how can we maintain a better focus when we do hit that adversity within a game, within a drive? Because if we still would have just dug our cleats in and hit the plan like we wanted to, we would have been in better shape.
I like what I'm hearing there. I'm hearing the accountability that I think is important. Hey, guys, we gave up a tough first drive. I would like it to him said, the first drive is on me. My job is to prepare them to play with good schemes. Their schemes were better than our schemes. We're down 7-0. After that, I think we didn't have the focus that was needed. There you go. That's on the players. And he said as much. We didn't focus on positioning and technique and alignment. And therefore, that's how you end up in the wrong gap to begin with, or you rush the wrong gap. And a small game becomes a bigger game. We had them in second and long and allowed them to get after it to make it manageable third downs. Those are the types of things that I really want to hear. That makes me feel like you've got a pulse on it, that you're holding them accountable. It did not sound like JG 2 days ago. I thought Jonathan Gannon had one of his worst press conferences on Monday when he tried to just kind of act like he was a little aloof. Yeah, we got to play better. Yeah, we got to play better. That to me sounds like a guy that doesn't have answers. I realize what he's doing. He's like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and talk to the media about it. You're not my boss. But that's still disrespectful to the fan base, because how do you reach the fan base? You talk to the fan base through the media. So if you are showing the fan base, I've got a handle on this, well, then I think the fan base buys tickets because they believe in you. But when you say, yep, we got to play better. Yeah, they got us on that. Yeah. When that's all you do in a presser, then why would a fan buy tickets to that? No, they're not buying tickets to a press conference, but they want to buy tickets to an organization and a program that they believe in. And that's not what Jonathan Gannon portrayed on Monday. In my opinion, it is exactly what the coordinators did yesterday. I liked hearing this. Last one for Cardinals. I like this amount of respect. I've been told millions of times of how good of a coach Kyle Shanahan is. It's a little hard for me sometimes because what he did as the offensive coordinator of the Falcons in that Super Bowl when Brady came back and led them to the overtime win, it was appalling to me, the ignorance of the play calling and the lack of ability to run out the clock. And so I still struggle to get over that. I struggle with how much talent the 49ers have had since Shanahan has been there. And they haven't won a Super Bowl. But I understand they got there, and I understand how good Pat Mahomes is. But they've also had years where they've just been so terrible that I believe Shanahan is a good coach. Other coaches say he is a great coach. Now, to be fair, I think you should listen to the coaches and not me. If other coaches say that guy's a great coach, okay, maybe they know what they're talking about a little better than I do. Having said that, I love what Nick Rallis says of you're behind when you start the week against the 49ers.
First matchup, sixth matchup since I've been here, no matter what, it is hard to prepare for. I actually just left the meeting with the coaches kind of going through some things that are difficult. And I said, keep watching it. Let me know what you guys figure out here. Make sure it's simple, because it's difficult. Like the way it's the run and the pass game, how he can game plan it, number one, to get them in advantage positions, but then two, to dress it up. I think the advantage of playing them before is I don't even know where we would be looking at that for the first time. It would be harder. But no matter what, it's hard every week. I always joke with the coaches, I like kind of, staying ahead of schedule. As soon as San Fran week hits, you're behind schedule, just because it takes you so long to work through what they do. Credit to them. It's really good. It's really good.
That was heartfelt, right? I mean, you could tell. And the phrase, you're behind as soon as you start the week against San Francisco, because there's so much that they can do and so much they scheme. And then you've got to diagnose what they're trying to do and then get that relayed to the players, and the players have to execute as all 11 coming together as one. And then after you do all that, you just physically have to win. That's asking a lot. But the 49ers are not a juggernaut. They're one of the best teams in the NFC, but it doesn't mean they're unbeatable. It'll be really interesting to see how many 49er fans are there, because Seahawk fans usually do a good job taking over. Rams fans don't exist. But 49er fans have been fickle over the years. And I wonder if the way you can tell are the Cardinals in a silent count. That's the greatest compliment you can give to a road crowd, quote unquote, is when the home team has to go to a silent count. Coming up next, same thing, but two different teams, ASU, U of A. And you're not going to like this, ASU fan, but U of A's coming. That's next. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. It's going to be hard to keep up with this list, but from Parker & Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical, we have a reverse osmosis system, a tankless water heater, and 2 air scrubbers that actually remove pollens and germs from the air that we breathe in our home. So what does Parker & Sons do? They only handle the air that we breathe and the water that we drink, and they do a great job. Call 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602 the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
It's big, it's juicy, it's meaty. Get your burrito at Burrito Express. If you're having a hangover, a bad day, even a good day, still get your burrito at Burrito Express. It will make you feel better.
You know the rule, if we're talking hoops, U of A goes first. When we're talking football, it's the defending Big 12 champions that go first. However, I'll just tell you up front, the U of A segment's going to be longer. It's because I found a lot of Seth Dagey that I liked. I only have bits and pieces of ASU stuff, but Seth Dagey I thought was really interesting, the offensive coordinator of the Wildcats. The first two things I want to play for you are CKD, and they're from Monday. He started the presser talking about the injuries, talking about Xavier Alford not being here, Ben losing his center, losing his quarterback, but says nobody cares. You still have to win the game. Go do your job. And it was a very strong statement, but then someone asked him, does he realize that they're doing a good job at least? The fact that you only have 2 losses in a season where you've lost this many people is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, if we were healthy, I'd probably be not thrilled, but, decently happy with where we're at. I mean, this conference is ruthless. It's really, really tough, and we've had a really, really tough conference schedule. When you look at who we've played and the rhythm of how we've played them, was it home, was it away, played a really, really tough schedule. So with all the injuries, I'm very, very impressed by our guys' ability to just keep fighting and not just, cashing it in. Like, they want to make the most out of this season. And how you do that is you go to work today, tomorrow, and the next day. We still have not played a good football game. That's the part that's the most frustrating to me as the head coach is why is our team, and I get it's hard when you have so many guys out and you have young guys playing. Okay, a young guy gets knocked backwards and holds on a kickoff return. Okay, don't do that again. Okay, you didn't do it again. Then another one of the freshmen did it. Oh, crap. Okay, you don't do that again. Right? So I mean, there's so many things that happen when you're playing into your depth that I don't know if I've done a good enough job adapting in areas to mitigate risk as opposed to continue to be aggressive. So I think I'm learning that I need to mitigate risk in some of these scenarios so we don't have catastrophes. And so, it may not be the best thing, but the negative side isn't as high. So I'm happy with where we're at. We've got a lot of season left to be played. I hope our guys are rejuvenated and ready to go these last 3 weeks because we face a team that's going to hit us in the face this week.
Here's a really fascinating philosophical coaching question. Is Kenny Dillingham's job to beat West Virginia? Or is his job to win as many Big 12 championships as possible to put them in position to get to the college football playoff? Here's why I ask that. Because obviously it's just easy to say win games. And guess what? If you win more games, then you're going to win the Big 12 championship. His little piece there is he talks about the injuries and what happens with the injuries, and maybe he needs to do a better job of mitigating risk. And that's kind of code for, all right, we have the game plan. We know that team B is weak in this area. We're highly confident this play will work against them, or this defensive scheme, or this defensive blitz. We believe this is going to work. However, let's say we call that blitz and our stud corner and safety are hurt. So now we have a freshman in at corner, and that freshman loses and we give up a 40-yard play. Was that a bad call? Was it a bad call to call that blitz knowing you put a freshman corner on an island in a matchup you didn't like, that guy against that guy, and the opposition beat you with it? Is that a bad call? See, to me, it goes to the question. If your only job right now is to beat West Virginia, then the answer to that is yes. It's a terrible call. What were you doing? How did you think you were going to beat West Virginia by being aggressive with blitz packages that exposed you? Your corners aren't good enough to run that blitz. You've got to know your team. Okay? That's how I would feel if your job is to beat West Virginia. But if your job is to win as many Big 12 championships as possible, this is not a popular opinion, but the 2025 Arizona State Sun Devils are not winning the 2025 Big 12 championship. Sorry. I know you've only got 2 losses, and last year you only had 2 losses. But to me, the opposition is better this year. It's going to be harder for your 2 losses to stand up to the rest of the conference. Maybe they will. But because of that, I like the idea of staying aggressive. I disagree with Coach when he just said, hey, I've got to mitigate risk. I believe that freshman will either make the play and not allow the blitz to come back to haunt you and give up a big play, or he doesn't make the play and he learns from it. And now, with every lesson, you've increased your odds at winning the 2026 Big 12 championship. So I'm not saying cut bait. I'm not saying run plays that we just want to see what our guys are going to do. If you believe this blitz exploits a weakness of West Virginia while also exposing a weakness of your own, run it. And let me tell you, my opinion would not even remotely be that if Arizona State was healthy and they are sitting at 8-0. Then I would say, well, sure, run it because you're healthy, but also don't take too many chances. You're better than West Virginia. You don't have to take chances. They'll screw it up on their own. Just cover them straight up. But you see, to me, situation dictates the answer to that. And I just found it interesting when he said, I've got to mitigate risk. And I'm kind of like, no, you don't. Let them learn. All right, that was a long explanation, but it's a really interesting topic. Hopefully you were with me on that. All right, last one from Coach Dillingham, in which Kenny talked about how things went with the bye week, in which there was no practice all week last week.
I mean, a week off is a relative term, right? It's a week off from going out on the football field. I think sometimes when people use the word week off, they think that, I went over to Disneyland for like 5 days or something. Like, we did not go on the football field, for a week. We did not take a week off. We just didn't go on the football field for a week. So, yeah. So what did I do? I watched tape. I watched recruit film. I, watched West Virginia, a ton of West Virginia. I went on the road recruiting. The only thing I did that was, quote unquote fun was I flew with Bree to Denver to get to watch Bo play on Thursday night. I haven't got to see him live yet in the NFL, so I wanted to go see him. And that game was filled with former players. It was him, Dante Thornton for the Raiders, Jackson Powers Johnson for the Raiders, Alex Forsyth, Troy Franklin. So there was so many guys in the game. Jarrett Stidham, I coached at Auburn for like a short 3-week period of time when I got there for the Music City Bowl. So we got to joke about that. So, I got to go be around, a bunch of guys that I coached in that game. So it was an opportunity that I wanted to take advantage of during the bye. But other than that, it was, business as usual.
I just realized as we listened to that I played that for you yesterday. I'm so sorry. I could just edit it out, but I still found it interesting. So there, my bad. Let's go to a fresh one, which is defensive coordinator Brian Ward was asked about West Virginia offensively. And honestly, I don't care about this that much in the sense that I think ASU is better than West Virginia when they're healthy. I have no idea what's going to happen with a banged up ASU team, but I think they're going to win. Having said that, I really like what Brian Ward is saying here, more from a philosophical standpoint of how you get better through a year. And if ASU would have played West Virginia at the beginning of the year, I think Arizona State would have crushed them. Remember, my Ohio Bobcats, who just lost last night and blew first place in the MAC, they beat West Virginia. And now West Virginia's coming here. You will hear it from me. Absolutely. If my Bobcats can beat a team that ASU cannot.
They're executing at a much better rate than they did early. And what they've done is they've made adjustments to wrinkles that teams have given them issues. And you can see that they're just getting back to basics and fundamentals. And you can see that from the offensive line to the running backs to the quarterback to the receivers, they're starting to understand what they're trying to implement there in terms of a system. And so you see their offensive game plan and their program philosophy is just kind of coming together. They want to run 80+ plays. They want to run the football 50+ times a game. They want to be efficient, not get off schedule on 1st and 10. They want to get to 3rd and short and 4th and short. They have more 4th down, I think, run plays than I think the second most or something in the country or something crazy. So you got to prepare for all situations with these guys, but they're starting to understand just what the program philosophy is going to be moving forward, and that's why they've had success the last few weeks.
Reason why I like that, it's an interesting conversation piece about when you're building a program. And what happens to anybody in sports, especially football. West Virginia gets beat with whatever Ohio did schematically, and it exposes a weakness. So almost every team that plays West Virginia says, okay, we're going to do that same thing and see if you fixed it. And every time it's done, West Virginia loses again. Okay, the next team, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And that's what Coach Ward meant by they've added wrinkles that then take care of these holes, take care of these weaknesses that are there. And they've gotten better and better each week. I mean, they've had a strange season. Ohio was their first game against a Division I opponent. They lost. Then they beat Pitt. And I bring that up because Pitt's now a top 25 team. And then after that, they lost 5 straight games. And I mean, it was ugly. 41-10 to KU, 48-14 to Utah, 38-24 to BYU, 45-13 against UCF. But then only by 6 points to TCU. Then they upset Houston by 10. And then they stayed firm and beat Colorado by 7. Suddenly now you can see what Coach is talking about. That they're starting to understand and making the quarterback change, that this is what we can do. There's a lot of good football talk there. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let's go U of A. Okay, again, this is from Brent Brennan in his presser from Monday. It's a little old, but I didn't get a chance to get to it yesterday. And the topic was about, I wouldn't say it was just flat out suicide, but it was talking about some of the issues that are going on in the mental health space when it comes to football. And it kind of moved off of a little bit of a talk of gambling, I believe. This is 2 days old, so hopefully I don't have this butchered. But the reason why I pulled it is just because I really like the way Brent Brennan handled the subject matter.
I lean really heavily into that space for them. It's critical that we support our kids. I just think this generation is dealing with more stuff than any generation we've ever coached before. And so we have 3 full-time professionals in that space in our athletic department. It's well-resourced by the U of A. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of those things where we are really, really open with our players about, because I also think that sometimes players think if they choose to talk to somebody and they're going through a tough time, that somehow that information is going to get back to me, that never happens, right? That's not what it's there for, right? And so trying to get our players in a place where they are comfortable and they understand that we are just here to support them on their journey, and whatever they need in the mental health support, we will make sure they get the resources that they need. And Rachel does a great job with our team, and we're really appreciative of it.
I mean, nothing earth-shattering, but I thought I like hearing that. I coached a long time in club soccer, and I just saw all kinds of situations, and saw some very, very strong girls come out of difficult situations. I saw some kids who were frighteningly spoiled. And I don't even mean spoiled from a financial standpoint. I mean spoiled into thinking that they're a queen, that they deserve so much, and that the coach is so wrong because he doesn't see your greatness. Like, listen, I see greatness in all of you as a human being if you choose to use it. But I only see greatness as a soccer player in a couple of you. Yeah, and I don't mind saying I don't see it in my kid. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Here, my kid, you're not doing enough. Figure out how to be better with your touch. Figure out how to dribble better. Figure out how to get faster and run faster than your mother's gene pool. Let's go. Now, I saw some horrible things that some girls had to overcome. And the mental health crisis in the country is real. What makes me a little different and very unpolitically correct is I also believe that we have no concept of soft anymore either. Too much, to me, is swept under the rug of mental health. That, hey, there's some people that are just soft. Suck it up. That's not mental health. It's mental strength. Now, maybe we argue that's part of mental health is to become mentally stronger. But it's almost as if all of these kids have been raised and protected of, like, adversity is a bad thing. Consequences are a bad thing. So many parents are, not you, of course, you're in the Unplugged Army, but so many parents are raising their children in a way that tries to hide them from consequences and adversity. It's the teacher's fault. It's the administration's fault. It's the coach's fault. And then they're shocked when they get older and their kid can't handle adversity. Or they turn to terrible things to cope with their inability to handle adversity. Sometimes those terrible things are in their hand, just the phone. And that becomes a coping mechanism. And some of that stuff is not necessarily mental health at the beginning, but I actually believe it becomes mental health. Because then, after being raised in a coddling environment, after being raised with zero concept of adversity and consequences, suddenly it is a mental health crisis because they don't know how to deal with it. What's beauty for the most part in sports, but obviously not always, is the immediate result. you find out a lot faster if you're good enough. And then everybody else finds out if you can mentally handle the fact that you weren't good enough. And then you get to see what are you going to do about it. I love Kenny Dillingham's line all year long in year one when that team was terrible. And he kept saying, what are you going to do, quit? I mean, you don't have an option. You quit, fine, go away. Go away. Nobody quits a winner. But if I can see that you're a quitter now when we're losing, I know I don't want to take you with me when we start winning. You can see this subject hit me pretty good. Really interested in your feedback because it's one thing that I think is important, especially when I'm talking about a subject that's so sensitive. I can say something that's insensitive without being insensitive. And I think it's a line not enough people talk about. What I mean by that is, let's say something that I just said either sounded clueless to you, sounded uninformed, sounded like I could be doing damage with that thought. That's why I try to put myself out there for you on Town Hall Tuesday and some other things where I say, hey, Doug, I disagree with this. I think you got this wrong. And you might be an authority in the subject matter, whatever it is, and that's good for you to correct me. At the same time, I do think there are plenty of people that just because they have a degree in a certain subject consider themselves an expert on something and they're not. Or they've gone so far to the deep end that then it becomes more of a political battle and we're arguing opinions that you claim are science and or so like take COVID for an example. And the way people freaked out about masks on both sides. For some of you, you were freaking out like everybody's going to die because you found one guy in a store without a mask. And we've come to find out that masks had very, very little help, offered little help in blocking the spread of COVID. However, they did help. It wasn't very much, but they did help. So everybody that freaked out, I know science. I know it better than you. You didn't know it. You read a magazine article. You read an article online from your favorite website that supports your political views. And then said, okay, now I'm an expert. I might have alienated. This is why I don't talk politics, because I alienate everybody. I think everybody's nuts. I think everybody's wrong. But there's my point about masks. They helped, but they didn't help enough to get everybody all upset about the people that weren't wearing masks. It'll be an interesting Town Hall Tuesday where I'm venturing there all based on football. Got some people fired up, did I? This is a subject matter that was talked about a lot last year with Kenny Dillingham and the fire that is in Tempe and all the coaches trying to reach this new standard because of what Graham Rossini has brought to the table and what Kenny Dillingham has brought to the table. And you could feel it across campus in all sporting events. And after the basketball win over Florida and the fact that UofA is starting to win football games, this is a question about whether or not it's palpable what's going on campus from a Tucson perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important, and I think it's really critical at an institution like this that is in a city like Tucson, and there's no pro sports franchises, and you're not sharing that market with, the last job I had, we had the 49ers and the Warriors and the Giants and the A's and the Earthquakes, and there were so many, and then there's other universities, right? Where with this one, this thing is so unique that way. So there absolutely is a ton of enthusiasm. I think that's really a special thing about this place is just the relationship the city of Tucson has with the university. And when our sports teams are playing well, it's exciting because it really is, everyone always says it's the front porch of the university, and it is, because it is really public. And so the success or the failure of your sports programs is a really public thing. And when people are playing well and doing good stuff, it's exciting for everybody.
I think all that's true, but I had to laugh about that one for a second. Do you remember where he was the coach of? He's the coach of San Jose State. Did you hear all the teams that he mentioned?
The last job I had, we had the 49ers and the Warriors and the Giants and the A's and the Earthquake.
So he's the head coach of San Jose State. And he throws out all those teams that are in the same area. He even throws out the MLS Earthquakes, but he doesn't say the San Jose Sharks. You're the head coach of San Jose State. The Sharks, now granted, in his tenure, the Sharks were mostly terrible, but it's still funny to me. You just gloss right over the NHL team. And normally I wouldn't say anything because a lot of people gloss over NHL teams. But the fact is, out of all the teams that you mentioned, only the Earthquakes are your immediate area. They're all Bay Area. And you're just throwing San Jose State into the Bay Area. But the one team that's right there, San Jose, you didn't even think of them. I thought that was good. Danny Gonzalez, defensive coordinator, fired up.
Everybody was saying on Saturday, this is Arizona football. Like, we're going to screw this thing up. And guess what? We didn't. The narrative of this is Arizona football, we're going to change that narrative to being a positive when that statement is said, because our kids fought their tails off on Saturday.
You're going up against UC on Saturday. I'm sorry. I think you're going to lose. I think that facing a team at 10 o'clock in the morning is very tough as a West Coast team. Don't get mad and think I'm being biased. I picked ASU to lose to USC last year. At least I think so. Don't quote me on it, but I wasn't shocked when they lost. Yet, it's very difficult to come into an environment like that, and it's going to be cold, and it's going to be early in the morning, early body clock wise. That's tough. That's tough. And you're going up against Brandon Sorsby, the quarterback.
Best quarterback we played. And leadership skills. I mean, there's talk about him being a first-round pick, which are viable. I mean, the dude doesn't make very many mistakes. He's thrown 2 interceptions on the year. One of them hit a old lineman in the helmet, and the other one was in the very first game against Nebraska late. He's really particular with what they do offensively. He never gets them in the wrong play. I mean, he's similar to Rocco Becht, probably more athletic, can run. He's got some moves in the open field that if he has space, can really hurt you. I mean, they're 25th in the country in rush offense, 31st or 56th in pass offense, 56 total, 31st pass offense. I mean, they do everything, and they do it elite. I mean, Cyrus Allen, that dude's a 10 300-meter kid that he's throwing it to out in the slot, and they can line him up on both sides, so they'll try and find matchups, and they do a great job of that, moving around and putting him in the best matchup just to run straight by people. Okay, I think their 2 running backs are super physical. Now, I thought Hinshaw and them did a great job on Saturday, so I think they're very similar styles to those guys. Royer is very much just like the Houston tight end. He's like a big old giant wide receiver. It's the best receiving core we played. It's the best quarterback we played. And their O-line does a great job of creating space and gaps for those guys to hit, and then they do a great job of protecting Sorsby. He's only been sacked twice on the year. So it's a humongous challenge for our entire football team, and I cannot wait till Saturday.
You might be hearing me play that same quote again in the tailgate show. I think it's a big-time statement and reminder. The guy's thrown 2 picks, and he's been sacked twice. And we're now with 3 games remaining in the season. And then the story behind the picks, one hit his own offensive lineman in the helmet. Now, granted, he might have made a terrible throw, and the offensive lineman 6 yards ahead of him. I don't remember that pick. But if it was a play in which his offensive lineman is being driven back into him and he hits the helmet, well, that's not on the quarterback. And then another one was late in a comeback attempt against Nebraska in a known pass situation. Again, back to the mental health thing. Well, I shouldn't say that. Not back to mental health, but back to, not sugarcoating things and preparing people and saying how it is. He's saying this is a potential first-round pick at quarterback. These are the positives about him. This is what we've got to deal with. I think that prepares your kids better. Big fan of that. Seth Doege, on the other hand, let's start with him from an offensive coordinator standpoint. And he was asked about how Noah Fafita appears to be playing better and better every week.
When he started playing well is when he started really trusting, what we do and how we do things. And I think if you look back at the at the Kansas game, he missed a couple, in my opinion, like throws that he normally doesn't miss. And that was because I thought maybe he might be overthinking at times again. And that's the only time he ever gets in trouble, is he starts trying to process the coverage, what are they doing, how they rotating, like where is this going to go? It's like, no, you trust your progression, you go through your reads. And when he does that, he's brilliant. With all that being said, his warrior mentality and his heart is the only reason we won that game, right? Because of the presence that he has and the command that he has in the huddle to go say, and Danny will tell you this because Danny told me the story because he's on the field and I'm in the box, but when they had a chance to go get a stop, Noah's the one that came up to him and said, give me the ball back, we're going to score, we're going to win this game. You know, and that's the type of leader you want. In the last couple of road games, the reason he's played so well is because, man, he preps the right way. He preps the right way, he practices the right way, he doesn't miss throws in practice. And then when he goes out there on game day and he trusts his prep and he trusts his rhythm and he trusts his footwork and he trusts his progression and he trusts his teammates, well, now he's special. And so that's what I expect him to do the same every single week.
That middle part there where Seth Dagey was talking about him overthinking. Stick to your progression, stick to your progressions. That's an interesting tidbit because it's what I have talked about before, what I don't want Kyler doing to an extent. It sounds like the Seth Dagey offense, and I don't know this, but it sounds like just by that little comment there that it's a pure progression, which means the play is such that you look here, is he open? It's all binary, yes or no. Is he open? No. Go to read 2. Is he open? No. Go to read 3. Yes, throw it. That's it, throw it. That's a pure progression offense. Every offense has the progression, but basically what I'm hearing from Seth Dagey is, I don't want you overthinking what is their concept. I want you going through your reads, getting the ball out. Go through your read, get the ball out. And that's kind of a belief that the system is the system. However, where true quarterback greatness happens is when you do understand the concept and then realize, wait a minute, if they're doing X, well, what is now my fourth progression is actually running a pattern that defense can't stop. Because they're blitzing, they're going to blitz a corner off the edge. I figured this out. I can tell by the body language. I can tell by the tape I've watched. I know what's about to happen. That means the safety's going to roll over and pick up the corner's man. And I know I've got a perfect pattern in my fourth progression. And if Seth Dagey is saying, you go through this read, you go through this read, you go through, well, by the time you go through all your reads, you might be sacked now because he's coming. Now, obviously, if you know he's coming, you can check into the hot. You throw it hot. That receiver's supposed to read that the blitz is coming and get open quicker, break off his route. Then you get the ball out, things like that. But that's all the cat and mouse game. But that's why that interested me, because I'm guessing this is a pure progression offense when he says, just stick to your reads. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about what they're in. Just follow right along with your progressions. And I really like Seth Dagey, but that doesn't do a lot to develop pro quarterbacks, which brings up another great debate in sports. Is it the college coach's job to develop you for the NFL? Or is it the college coach's job to win games? Urban Meyer was incredible at winning games with quarterbacks that eventually went to the NFL. Most of them failed miserably in the NFL because they weren't prepared for the NFL. They were prepared to win college games. Well, if Seth Dagey is teaching only the pure progression type of offense, it's clearly working. You clearly want him as your college coach. He's clearly good at it this year. Look how the offense is improving all the time. But can you get the best prospects? Will quarterbacks look at what you're doing and say, you can get me to the NFL? Keep in mind, everything I just said might have been 100% wrong. I have no idea what Seth Dagey's offense is, how it's being coached. Okay, this last one from Coach Daggy. This is just story time. If you want to get to odds and ends, and if you're not a UofA fan, you might find this boring, and it's a minute and a half. But I think good stories are neat, and it's also why I like Seth Daggy, because he just brings it. He just says how it is, and he's going to say some things right here that in today's day and age, coaches are afraid to say about a player. But he basically says his right tackle at the beginning of the year wasn't good enough. And it's I don't know who it is. I don't know my media in Tucson, but it was clearly a question that Seth Daggy was really glad to have about his right tackle. Tristan Bounds is 6'8", but only 291 at the beginning of the year. And he went to Michigan for a little while. So now he's here and wasn't a starter at the beginning. Now he's playing well. So the question is about what has Tristan Bounds overcome?
Yeah, he's improved tremendously. And, when he got here in the spring, he was a little light and he wasn't very developed. And it's kind of weird saying that coming from a school like Michigan, where you're thinking, okay, that's it's like one of the O-line capitals of college football. And when we get him, he's like I said, he's light and he's not very polished, to a point where you're like, okay, I don't know if he'll be a starter for us, but he'd be a great rotational player. And then he kept chopping at it. He kept working at it. And then it got to a point where he got an opportunity, because of Rhino still not being available, where he got to play early in games. And early in the season, was he playing at the level he's playing at right now? Absolutely not. There was some times where you felt almost like he's a liability. But then, again, he just kept getting more confident. He kept playing through it. He kept trusting the preparation, trusting the coaching. And then next thing you know, he's one of our better linemen. I think it's another example of how Coach Oglesby does such a good job of development. That guy he's really, really good at what he does. And those kids love him. And so Tristan Bounds will hang on every single word that Josh Oglesby will say. And because of that, he's gotten 10 times better. And now he looks like he belongs in the Big 12.
That was a cool story. That was a cool story. And I just like it when you have a coach that's willing to open up about what's really going on behind the scenes. All right, coming up next, got a lot of odds and ends we need to get to. A little bit of D-backs. It's coming up on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler on 100 Mile Brewing Company.
This room that we're in right now is called the Roadrunner Room, and it is our private event space. It's 1,200 square feet and accommodates up to 80 seated, about 120 standing mingling. We have comedy night in here on Friday nights, and we've had board meetings, luncheons for ASU. We've had city council member, the mayor's been in here, Mayor Corey Woods. We have cornhole in here, so whatever really you want the space, we'll set it up for you.
100 Mile Brewing Company. Fresh. It never gets old.
Hit it. Got a funny meltdown coming up in a second. Maybe wrong choice of words. It's not really a meltdown, but I just thought it was a little cheese ball. We'll see, though. He might call me a hater when, in truth, I didn't hate until that moment. Man, it's just starting to settle in. Sorry, it's 5:36 in the morning, so I'm a little bit of a hurry because I want to make sure that I get the podcast up by 6. But I got a shingle shot yesterday at the doctor's. I've never cared. And I'm not, again, back to politics. I'm not an anti-vaxxer and I'm not a vaxxer. It's like, I don't care. I don't believe I'm really going to die by taking a vaccine. And at the same time, I think I drink enough orange juice and beer that there's no diseases that are going to hurt me anyway. So I don't need your vaccine, but I'm not going to fight you if you're a doctor and you really care and you want to stick me. Jennifer's all in on the shingles vaccine, and we had a joint appointment, which I never want to do that again. Just having the doctor be able to talk directly to Jennifer, make sure he does this, make sure he does this, make sure he does this. I go, oh my gosh. But my arm is really, really sore. I just moved it a little bit. It kind of grabbed me. Let's do some odds and ends. So it's odds and ends. Odds and ends are when we have little pieces of information that only take about 2 minutes to talk about, but we want to move fast because we've got a lot of things to talk 2 minutes on. First things up. Okay, we've got the general managers meetings coming up in Vegas, and then in a month we've got the winter meetings coming up, and I can't remember. I don't remember where the winter meetings are this year. Sorry, they were in Dallas a couple years ago. So I think they're either in New York or Orlando this year, but I can't quite remember. But anyway, so this is kind of a time where you probably don't make trades, but everything gets set up to make trades. Nick Picoro of the Arizona Republic is saying that the Diamondbacks are not coming home with McCarthy or Alek Thomas. I shouldn't say that. They're not coming home with both of them. One of them will be shipped for pitching. Catches, I don't think you're going to get anything thrilling. I think you will be able to get a decent bullpen arm, not a closer. And obviously this bullpen is in shatters, so it needs everything it can get. I think there's going to be a bigger market for Alek Thomas than Jake McCarthy. I love Jake McCarthy, but he really hasn't been able to put it together. He didn't get on base enough in the last year and a half. He's probably kind of hit his ceiling, but I'm a big fan of the person. Alek Thomas, on the other hand, his defense has been stellar, and he's slowly but surely looking better with the bat. And I think the pitching for the Diamondbacks is so bad that you've got to move Alek Thomas to really get somebody that's going to be able to make a dent into the problems of Diamondbacks pitching. So I have no problem if they trade both of them. Granted, you don't have Lourdes Gurriel Jr. next year, but the outfield is so deep with prospects and with infielders that show that they are learning the position, like Blaze Alexander. Jordan Lawler went to the Dominican and played winter ball and was working on his outfield defense there, things like that. And then, of course, you've got Corbin Carroll locking up one of those. So that's number one. Number two, free agent list came out. Zach Gallen ranked as number 13, 13th best free agent. Judging by the year that he had last year, I was a little shocked that he was ranked that high. And the rankings mean nothing. I mean, every team ranks their own players, and then it's based on the financial situation. But just seeing that, knowing that ESPN says that, okay, give or take 2 spots, that means anybody else is ranking him between 11 and 15. That means anybody that needs pitching is going to go after the 11th best player. And he's not going to make the money he was going to make, but he's going to make more than the Diamondbacks are willing to pay, I believe. So I think everybody knew he was gone, but just seeing that ranking, and it kind of made me realize, okay, he's gone. And the Diamondbacks will get a draft pick compensation for losing him. Suns are in action tonight. It was announced that Jalen Green is going to be evaluated in 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. I'm a little nervous about tonight's game. I think the Suns are a better team, but I believe that Dallas, the Mavericks, are going to play better with a new general manager. Now, normally a general manager doesn't matter. Like, why would you play better just because somebody made a change in the front office? It's not like they changed their coach. The fire Nico chants during games were driving players crazy. They tried to act like it wasn't. They would say stuff like, well, we're professionals. We got to be able to handle our business. In other words, yes, it's driving me crazy. We don't have a home field advantage or home court advantage. We go on the road crowd's cheering for the home team. We go home games, the home crowd is cheering to fire Nico. They're not cheering for us. I don't know why that was hard to say. It's 5:45 in the morning. I'm drifting mentally. But now that the crowd will be more focused on the team, you might see a sense of relaxation. Like, fine, that chapter of the book has finally been closed. Now we can focus on our first opponent. It just so happens the first opponent is the Suns. I don't put it in versus Vegas, but I like the Suns in this game. I'll even take the Suns plus the 1.5 between you and I, but I admit I'm not including it in my predictions of versus Vegas because I'm worried about that one GM factor. I guarantee you, if Nico Harrison was getting fired tomorrow, I would pick the Suns tonight to win. And the last odds and end, you got to hear this. This is the strangest thing. It's not one of the legendary meltdowns like that old coach of Colorado. It's Division I football. It's the Big 12. And it's not, Mike Gundy. I'm a man. I'm 40. It's nothing like that. You could tell I was too lazy to go. I've never figured out how to get my 360 hooked up, if you're wondering from the old show. But this from Doug Christie is very strange. So Denver beats up on the Kings, 122-108. Jokic, great as always. 35 points, 15 boards, 7 assists. So Doug Christie is the road coach, comes into the press conference, introduces himself after declaring, okay, I think everybody knows me. Introduces himself using his middle name. Goes all full name on people. And I don't know if he's talking about this is a complete rebuild and they're going to tear it down soon and move. And like maybe there's a Sabonis trade rumor and he's preparing for people to say negative things. I mean, it might be something like a Luka Doncic trade, even though nobody looks at any of the Kings in a Luka Doncic way. But after the trade of De'Aaron Fox last year, I think it's pretty clear there might be some trades coming with the Kings, and I think Doug Christie's trying to get out ahead of it. I don't really think he succeeded.
Good evening. Some of you guys, I think everybody in here knows me. If you don't, my name is Douglas Dale Christie. I'm head coach of the Sacramento Kings. Okay? Change is hard, y'all. It's hard. But understand, and we understand, that we're not there yet. But we about to work at it like crazy. We totally get that. And it'll be bumpy. It will. Because change is like that. But buckle up. For the real ones, buckle up. And for all the rest of you, you know who you are. You know how I feel about that. We, and I say we as an organization, make no mistake, we're aligned in what we're doing. We are aligned in what we're doing. I said this before. You've heard me. I'm going to say it again. We're going to play to a standard. That's what we're going to do. Tough, competitive, disciplined, professional, team-oriented, and accountable. That's what we're going to play to. So when you look out there, everybody in this organization is held to that. Now, as an identity, that's defend, rebound, and share the damn basketball. That's what we're going to do every single time we hit the floor. So the pain of Kings fans, there's nobody that sat in this seat with the exception of two people, Rick Adelman and probably Jerry Reynolds, to understand the pain of Kings fans. So know that as I sit here, who experienced that pain with those men, we're going to get it right. We're going to work every damn day to get it right. So when I see the hate, the haters, the fakers, all you guys, you keep that energy. That's good. You keep that. And you know who you are. Because while you doing that, we're going to be working. And while you doing that, we're going to be growing. And while you do that, eventually, we're going to be coming. The King Show. Sack proud. Know that. Appreciate y'all.
What just happened? That was the whole press conference.
I think everybody in here knows me. If you don't, my name is Douglas Dale Christie. I'm head coach of the Sacramento Kings.
I mean, was that a job interview? That's so strange. What's he talking about? They're 3-8 on the season. They're a half game ahead of New Orleans to avoid being in last place. And he says they're all aligned in what they're doing. Okay. But what do you mean change is hard? Like, what's changing? You lost last year, you're losing this year. Are you about to change? And then who's hating on you? And you're about to work now? Well, the season's 11 games in. Why are you just now working? I had to play that for you because I don't have any idea what that was about. And I still can't get over the introduction.
I think everybody in here knows me. If you don't, my name is Douglas Dale Christie. I'm head coach of the Sacramento Kings.
So you might be thinking, well, how long has he been a coach there? Since 2021. He got an assistant coaching job in 2021. He took over as the interim coach in 24, and then they named him this year the head. They removed the interim tag, but he's been there since 21. And now you're introducing yourself? It's just very strange. All this hate, you guys keep hating because we're about to change things, but change is hard. Okay, well, nothing's changed. You're still the Kings. It's time for. Oh, not good. Oh, pretty frustrating. Needed a bailout and didn't get it. Because what I thought was going to happen certainly did not happen. The bailout I needed, I took Seattle on the money line against the Blue Jackets. And obviously I wouldn't be bringing this up if the Blue Jackets, or if Seattle had won. But the negative thing is the Blue Jackets won in the shootout. Like, come on. Are you kidding? Not in the shootout. All I needed was a goal in the shootout to be a winner. But the Blue Jackets tie it late in the second period. Nobody scores in the third period. Nobody scores in the overtime. And then it's still tied up 1-1 in the shootout after 3 skaters. So then Seattle goes, they choke. Columbus goes, they score, game over. Oh my gosh. In the 4th round of the shootout. And I end up being wrong because of it. And I needed it because I told you I like the Pacers -2.5 against Utah. -2.5. With Utah being on the back end of a back-to-back. Here we go. So I need the Pacers to win by 3. Okay? Pacers scored 128 points. Well, that's a guaranteed win. All I have to do is have Utah score 125 points or less, and I win. Indiana had 128. Utah scored 152. What happened here? How do you? It didn't even go into overtime. How do you have 152 points? And I picked Indiana. So I go 0-2 yesterday. And I really bring the ship down a little bit. Let's get it right today. Memphis is on the back end of a back-to-back, and so is Boston. Both teams flew into Boston. I don't like Memphis. I don't think they're that good of a team. I like Boston minus the 6.5. It's a little steep, though. You could easily talk me into dropping down that price down to like 2.5 points and then trying to throw it into a parlay with somebody else. I like Orlando plus the 3.5 in New York as the Knicks are on the back end of a back-to-back. I got San Antonio minus 4.5 against Golden State. Warriors are on the road on the back end of a back-to-back. They just flew down from Oklahoma City. And I don't know. After that speech from Doug Christie, I'm all over Atlanta. I just think you lose to Denver, you're on the back end of a back-to-back, and you have your head coach making a corny speech. I don't really think the players have your back in year 1 of your coaching career for your corny speech. I'll take Atlanta minus the 3.5. I think Doug Christie's going to be the talk of basketball, and it's going to be more mocking, and the Kings players, they're just not going to have his back. I think that's a little silly. We'll see. I don't know what I'm talking about if Sacramento wins by 15. Sac proud, Sac proud. I'm going to be playing that speech quite a bit, I think, in the upcoming weeks. Sound credits today. I got the Doug Christie from KCRA 3. I got the Cardinals coordinators from their YouTube page at AZ Cardinals. I got my Sun Devil sound, Kenny Dillingham, I got from Sun Devil Source. I got the Brian Ward from Devil's Digest. Both of them on YouTube. And UofA puts out all of their own press conferences on their YouTube page, and that's where I picked up the Seth Dagey and the Danny G and the head coach Brent Brennan from Monday. That does it for today's version of Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Go to whirlwindgolf.com and become a Whirlwind Plus member. It's only $2.99 for the year, and whatever is the cheapest price to get on that golf course today, that's what you pay for any time that you choose. Sometimes it's a $100 difference between the last couple tee times and a prime morning tee time. And you can get the cheapest time. Let me take that again. You can get the cheapest price for any time you want if you're a Whirlwind Plus member. Then you add on fabulous prizes, fun games throughout the year, exclusive opportunities. It's a no-brainer. If you like golf, become a Whirlwind Plus member at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Belle's Nashville Kitchen, home of the Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich, the greatest sandwich in the history of Arizona. Santan Ford. Use the mobile unit. Get your new car for Black Friday that lasts all of November with $5,000 off certain Broncos. Terms and conditions apply, but jump on it today and take a friends and family discount from me. Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com is the email, and I'll get you set up at Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. Parker & Sons, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. Call 6022-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons. Parker & Sons were the first ever company to come to our old house to check on a water problem we had with a water heater. Do not call it a hot water heater, because if it was already hot, why would you have to heat it? But they found out a flaw in the way the water heater was set up only 6 months into us owning the house. And we knew right then and there we're never calling anybody else but Parker & Sons. On time, treated us fair, took care of the problem the first time. We've been customers of theirs for over 18 years. And we're never changing. Burrito Express, locations all across the east side. And great sponsor of just not just the Unplugged Army, but of you specifically with what they're doing with the newly minted General Gene. Congratulations again, General Gene. With his basketball team and letting kids have an opportunity to learn how to make burritos, run the store, have some fun, and raise money for their basketball team. 100 Mile Brew, located at Rural 202 and Scottsdale Road. Home of A Mountain Amber Ale, the best beer in the history of the state. They've got a really good fried chicken sandwich as well. I love the Turkey Club myself, and I love their burrito. Their shredded beef burrito is really good. And our newest sponsor, Penny Royal Promotions. Hey, this is cool. I've had 3 different people, 2 at Belle's and 1 email, reach out to me and say, hey, tell me more about Penny Royal Promotions. That is so cool. Imagine what it's like to be them. They've agreed to try to make some T-shirts up for the Unplugged Army so we have cool stuff, and turn around there getting business this quick. Awesome, and I know Brett at Hydro Air Lab is going to use them. That is the definition of being a member of the Unplugged Army, so I really appreciate you. Thought it was a good show. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did talking to you. You deserve a great Wednesday. Al, I think the Suns are going to win tonight.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug Franz Unplugged.